Hi everyone, it's Becky here. I'm absolutely thrilled to be right here at Long Beach in Tofino. It's such a mesmerizing experience here listening to the crashing sound of the ocean waves and looking at the layers of the waves unfolding before me. So right now I'm perched on the sandy shore and I only have just 20 short minutes to do a very quick sketch because we're racing back to Nanaimo to catch our ferry home. So time is very tight right now. So here I am sitting and relaxing, having my Sailor brand fountain pen in hand. I'm gonna try my best to take advantage of this precious 20 minutes I've got on hand. So I started with this little bumpy little island here, there on the left side, focusing on its random organic shape, and then this horizontal line, it gives a sense of movement of the unfolding sea wave there in the back. I want to include another little island there in the distance on the right hand side. These trees are looking so wild, swaying in the fierce wind. So the drawing and watercolor painting speed here you're watching right now is in real-time speed because I'm using my gooseneck tripod and quickly just attach it to the side of my sketchbook because I don't have time to set up my large tripod. So here I am just relaxing and sensing the movement of the lapping sea wave over here, creating these bumpy horizontal lines full of movement and also my personal sensations while listening to the thundering sound of crashing sea waves, and just keep creating, adding a lot of movement in my line work. The technique here seems very simple, but you really have to be expressive here and also be impressionistic because you can't really copy the unfolding sea waves are changing shape every millisecond. So you can only use your quick seeing and sensations to get those horizontal lines done. So now I'm adding some texture for this little island here, pretty rocky with few trees on it. So as I always mentioned in my previous YouTube videos, sketching is not about copying what's in front of you. So in this situation I'm having right now, it's impossible to copy. And for this type of sketch, capturing the forces of nature is so important to be on location, using all of our five senses, listening to the thundering sounds of the waves, smelling the salty sea air, feeling the sea wind brushing on our faces, and seeing these super energetic lines of the crashing waves getting closer and closer to you. It's very, very difficult to work from a reference photo. So I have to be here on location to feel everything and capture the energy and the spirit of this place. Be right here on the moment. And now I'm drawing some little people surfing or simply just swimming in between the crashing waves, being pushed by the force of Mother Nature. So here I got one man there in the distance. Here is another one. Their heads are very small. And just one quick tip for you about drawing people in the distance. Their heads are just like one simple dot. If you're drawing the heads way too big, they might look like aliens. So yes, I got two men there. One is holding, actually both of them are actually holding their surfing boards. This is very similar to Hawaii. The turbulence of the sea is really great for surfing. And a couple men there in the distance, there on the right. Most of these surfing people are men. And just drawing another tiny man there in the middle ground. Again, keeping the head pretty small. The body could be fairly large to show the muscles and all the strengths of that person, adding some more details for this little island here, tipping in on the left side. A lot of organic lines, very random. Really trusting what I see and being honest of those jaggy lines of the rocks, and also very little bit of foliage covering those islands. And now I'm trying to include more people in my sketch because I really want to show the proportion of the sea by adding some more people maybe in the distance. Still waiting. While I'm waiting, I'm going to draw a couple of rocks here in the very foreground, a few steps away from me. Working on location is also about capturing more than one fixed moment. So working from photos, we are much more constricted about capturing the true character of a place. So here I see a lady walking in, wading in the water here in the middle ground, and she's looking to the left, which is more interesting than looking straight on, coloring her hair with solid brown ink. So overall, the human anatomy, the head takes about 1 unit out of the 5 to 6 units of the whole body, but it's a little tricky when people are wading in the water. So it's about 4. The rest of her legs are actually in the water. So yeah, the thing is to make sure that we don't draw those heads way too big. Otherwise, they might look like aliens. And so just getting 2 men there drawn and accentuated. It's kind of funny to see these people kind of floating, being pushed by the turbulent sea waves. And here I'm going to include a couple more people wading in the shallow water here in the middle ground. And for me, I'm never so afraid of drawing people, because the faster I draw, the more movement I can capture from those people and the less static they look. So yeah, I just know the general rule about drawing people is that not making their heads way too big and being aware of the human anatomy. So the head, it takes about 1 unit out of the 5.5 or 6 units of the whole body. So that's the general rule about sketching people. And that's very much it for the line work. Now I just wrote down the place and accentuated those letters a little bit so they pop up from the page even more. Before that, I want to just add another man here. So it looks like the lady has a partner to walk with, and this guy here is holding a surfing board, just like the other guys. And he's wearing long black swimming pants. I think it's professional. For surfing, and accentuate around his body a little bit, especially his pants. A lot of times I like to shade in some areas like hair, pants, or other parts of the outfit with solid black. This time is solid brown ink, just so those figures, they stand out better. So before calling it done, I just want to draw one more person in 10 seconds. Yeah, I think the more people that I have here, the more fun this sketch look like. Alright, so here I'm getting my watercolor palette ready from my backpack, and now I'm ready to spend about 10 minutes painting the watercolors. So as you can see in the reference photo here in the corner, everything looks just like gray, like lifeless gray, right? But if you're on location with me, you can see so many more shades of lively grays. The sky is not gray. I can feel the bright sunshine trying to push through the thick rainforest clouds. So now I am punching on a little bit of diluted lemon yellow using thick brushstrokes, and also closer to the horizon as well to add a sense of energy and happiness for this place. So even though time is really tight, I don't feel stressed. I really like the challenge of having a limited amount of time to do a sketch. It really pushes me to simplify things and just capture the bare essence of that place. Okay, moving back to my sketchbook page. Here is my very first few brushstrokes for the sky. Diluted lemon yellow, and also the brown ink is dissolving a little bit, giving it a really nice organic look. And now I am mixing my own gray with cobalt blue, a little bit of royal purple. Yeah, so this is mostly cobalt blue with a tiny bit of royal purple playing with water control. So this second stripe of cloud here above the horizon is slightly more diluted compared to the one on the very bottom. And when we're painting clouds, you have to be aware of the hand pressure you're pushing on that brush. So as you can see, for the same stripe, I'm using various hand pressures, lifting, pushing down, lifting and pushing down according to my observation. So here I'm holding my brush very much 90 degrees to the paper. So I am able to create these very thin and feathery lines. Yeah, so every single sky is different and the sky can never repeat itself. And keeping my color scheme very simple, mostly just cobalt blue and a tiny bit of royal purple. So these ones here on top, they are so thin and feathery and semi-transparent, pretty diluted. Yeah, and then brush strokes going in different bends and directions. So we have to be aware of that. We could actually do so much with a single brush. Right now I'm using a large tip Holbein Water Brush, and you could do the same with other brands of round brushes. So round brushes is my favorite type of watercolor brushes. Adding a bit of retouches and keeping this bluish gray pretty mild overall. Okay, so I think I captured the spirit of the sky, of the sunshine trying to push through the clouds pretty successfully. Now I'm ready to paint the sandy areas and also the sea, which is very challenging. I'm throwing myself a challenge this time. So I just wetted the beach area with clear water, so it's easier for the paint to spread out very smoothly without dry brushing. So here I'm playing with yellow ochre, burnt sienna, and also raw umber. These three kind of yellow browns, the earthy colors. And moving on, I'm going to use rapid hand movement and a great selection of colors for the lapping sea waves. So just wetting these stripes with clear water and slowing down to observe the various colors that I see, the blues and turquoise. So here I'm mixing cerulean blue with hooker's green or cerulean blue with lime green. So here this one is more green turquoise. As you can see, the paint is also reacting with the salty sand that I got on my sketchbook page. Some more cobalt blue, wet onto wet, blending on top with a thin brush stroke over there. Brush stroke is actually pretty important to give a sense of depth for each lapping sea wave. And I know it's really hard to tell these different kinds of blues and turquoises from the reference photo. It's much more engaging to be on location, to be able to see these lovely, charming colors of the sea, and continuing playing around, mixing cobalt blue with green and maybe a little bit of royal purple. So those ones, those lapping sea waves in the distance, the color is a little bit more muted because the definition is low. It's getting a little harder to see and misty. Some more green turquoise in a few quick dabs. I love how the paint is reacting to the paper surface right now. Adding some more contrast for the foreground sea wave here with cobalt blue and a little bit royal purple. Very careful and sharp brush strokes, and just let the wet onto wet paint bleed into each other. So working from real life observations is so much fun, putting on these colors. So every second I'm making up a new decision about what color and what kind of brush strokes I want to put on. Always engaging with my environment, which is always dynamic. And according to the rule of perspective in general, these lapping sea water, they look narrower there in the distance because things far away, they look foreshortened. The sea waves here in the very foreground with the charming blues and turquoise, they look pretty thick because it's closer to me. And those ones folding behind, they look thinner. They're foreshortened. And objects in the foreground area, they need more renderings. So here I'm adding some sharper renderings of this sea wave folding up and pushing forward towards me, and more concentrated green, mostly hooker's green with just a tiny bit of cobalt blue for finer renderings of these super delicate layers of sea waves. It's very hard to tell the numbers of layers. So my goal is to capture the movement, the energy of this these thundering sea waves through various brushstrokes. Each brushstroke is actually putting on a sense of energy for this illusion of sea waves I'm trying to create. And now I'm mixing burnt sienna with a little bit of raw umber and a few brushstrokes for the foreground sandy area. Some tiny renderings in the distance, and also leaving some gaps, white, unpainted, for the white foamy areas of the crashing waves. And putting on a little bit diluted burnt sienna for both of these two islands, because underneath the greens is the rocky area, which is really brown. And now I'm mixing Viridian green with just a tiny bit of burnt sienna for these dark shades of foliage, very thinly covering these rocks. And this green is very much a seaweed color, and mixing even more burnt sienna into the green for this earthy green, a little bit more contrast. So I'm just kind of playing with two layers of green. The first layer is more diluted, second layer stronger, more concentrated, less watery here on top. So the denser colors of this little island over here is really adding a nice sense of weight and balance for this picture, because the sea waves are of a pretty gentle and lighter value overall. So I feel that the denser colors of these two islands here on both sides in the middle, they really tie the connection of the sky and the sea together much better, making this sketch look even more compelling. So now I'm blending a bit of hooker's green for the top edge of the trees for this island there, dilute it a little bit towards the bottom. The bottom is a little foggy. It's the Pacific Northwest rainforest climate we're seeing. So just basically putting a pretty dense green for the top of the trees here, clean my brush and just drag the green down. So the bottom of the island there is more diluted, creating a foggy feel. And some more little renderings here and there. And now it's time to color in the outfits of these people. Just kind of using my memory, and I think I want to use some warm colors. For the lady, I use a diluted red for her shirt. And for this guy, I remember he was wearing an orange shirt. And same for these people. So I want to put warm colors for most of these people's outfits. So those are actually skin colors for those surfing men. So for skin colors, I mix orange and red together, diluted with a lot of water. And just shade their legs a little bit with a darker brown left over from my palette. So since this video is playing at real-time speed, you can see that I'm actually working pretty fast, but not rushing. I like to ponder a little bit once a while to see if there are any darker values, definitions that I need to add on. So having a time limit doesn't mean that I have to rush things around and get it done without thinking very much. And so now I just add a bit of raw umber for the bottom of the sandy beach over here. So there's a sense of value transition and dimension as well. Now I want to spend a little bit more time to render these clouds in the moody sky. Keep playing with cerulean blue, adding a bit of nice vibrant cerulean blue for the bottom here because I feel like the sky is opening up a little bit down here closer to the horizon. An overcast sky is never static, especially during a windy condition like this by the beach. The sky is always moving in full powerful turbulence. Here I'm mixing cerulean blue with cobalt blue, diluted a little bit, and using more refined brushstrokes for these feathery clouds. They're in the distance, closer to the horizon. Clouds, they look very thin and delicate, closer to the horizon. And these ones here on the upper half, they are light and fluffy, kind of like birds' feathers. Again, playing with cerulean blue and cobalt blue. The sky is a dome shape, and that's why these clouds are flying upwards, wrapping around the inverted sphere or the dome shape. The sky is never a flat backdrop behind a landscape with perfectly horizontal lines of clouds. The ones on top, we can see more three-dimensionality of the sky, that they are actually, a lot of times they're flying upwards, following the curve of the dome. And some more, little bit concentrated blue here, and dry brushing as well for the feathery look of these clouds. And that's it. Here is the look of my finished sketch. It took me 25 minutes for the Long Beach sketch, and the cafe sketch took me 1 hour. So you can check out my previous video for that tutorial. And it's a beautiful day despite that it's an overcast day. Dew is hiding behind the driftwoods, and here we're saying bye to Tofino. We had a race time to catch the 8 o'clock ferry. And because of the ongoing constructions here on Highway 4, we don't know exactly when we're going to arrive at the ferry terminal. Finally, we arrived right on time. Here, the gorgeous sunset sky is giving us a beautiful reward. And we're going home. So see you again very soon next time in the next video. Have a great day, everyone. Bye.